Hey, y'all. Welcome to Crosspolitic One-on-One with the Water Boy. It's good to be with you. As you guys know, every Monday when we drop the show, this is just my fun time. It's my time to interview people that I'm interested in talking to and everything. And I got a great guest today who started a whiskey distillery. So you got to hang around for that discussion. A lot of fun. Before we get there, I have two events coming up that I want to make you guys aware of. And the first event is our Business Makers Network first national conference, actually in Dallas, Texas, April 7th, 8th, and 9th. And so make sure you go to businessmakers.network to sign up. I'm really excited about this business conference and the efforts that we're doing there. And kind of the goal is, I mean, Jesus is Lord over everything, politics, health, and especially our jobs, especially our businesses, especially our workplace. And more than ever, we need strong Christians running businesses with conviction and strong entrepreneurs with conviction and strong employees with godly convictions. That's exactly what Business Makers Network is all about, a place for Christian business leaders who refuse to compartmentalize their faith. And this year, we're hosting our first national conference, Risk, Build, Grow, the Business of Work and the Wisdom of Making Money, April 7th, 8th, and 9th at Lake Point Church in Dallas, Texas. Go to the website for the particular. Lake Point has a number of church locations, so go to the website, businessmakers.network, to get that specific location. You'll hear from speakers like me, Eric Reed, Brett Craig. If you don't know who Brett Craig is, he's fantastic. C.R. Wiley, Andrew Krapischutz, the CEO of Public Square. We got a number of lawyers speaking. We got a number of other CEOs speaking. We got a full lineup. You can go check them all out at businessmakers.network. So go sign up now, April 7th, 8th, and 9th in Dallas, Texas. Go to businessmakers.network to sign up. And if you're a network member, follow the directions there to make sure you get your membership discount to sign up to the conference. The other summit, the other event I want to tell you about is our Water Break Summit. If you guys don't know, me and my wife host a faith and fitness show. Been doing it for, oh goodness, I think going on 2 years now, maybe this April. And we're doing a Water Break Summit here in Moscow, Idaho. And the health industry has really rejected Jesus as Lord over our bodies. And it's paralyzing us. It's frustrating people. People don't know who to trust in the health industry. If you guys remember anything about COVID, many have simply given up. It's time to reclaim Christ's authority over our health and restore basic truths for lasting wellness. This March, we'll be hosting the first ever Water Break Summit here in Moscow, Idaho. This conference is going to be jam-packed with 2 days of truth-centered health insights from Ben Greenfield, Joel Green, Dr. Tabitha. If you don't know who she is, she's going to be actually on our show, I believe, next week. And the show's host, of course, me and Annie. This isn't another wellness conference peddling supplements and fads. It's about reclaiming a biblical vision of health, practical strategies rooted in truth, not pharmaceutical profit margins. The summit kicks off on Friday, March 27th and runs through Saturday evening, March 28th. Tickets are available at waterbreak.tv. And we also have VIP tickets. If you want to have dinner with us and the speakers and everything, we have VIP tickets, so you can register to attend, and also buy VIP tickets to attend the dinner on Friday night. So register at waterbreak.tv, click on Summit 2026, and you'll get there. And we also have vendor space, and not very much because we're in a smaller building, but we have some vendor space available, some sponsorships available, and we'd love to see you at our Water Break Summit, March 27th, 28th. So with all those announcements out of the way, I'm excited to bring in Jeff Casey. Jeff Casey is the co-founder of Land Run Distillery. He is established in 2021 on historic Oklahoma land, first settled by his great-grandfather during the 1893 Land Run. You actually can go to their website and see some of this story here. A steward of tradition and innovation, Jeff brings a pioneering spirit to crafting premium bourbons and whiskeys from locally sourced grains and limestone water. Delicious. Rooted in family and land and community, his work honors Oklahoma's past while building its future. And I was supposed to have one of his bottles here for me. I was going to be drinking on the show, but snowstorms slowed down the shipping. Coming in time. I ordered it in time. It said it was going to ship in time, and then the snowstorms came, so I actually don't have a bottle with me, so I'm missing out on that. But Jeff, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Hi, Gabriel. It's so nice to see you.
Yes, sir. So actually, I want to hear. I mean, we talked on the phone once. You were introduced to me through Shay Hewlett, one of our mutual friends.
Absolutely.
in the Texas area. I think I tweet it out or something, or put on Facebook or something. Anybody have or know of any Christian? I'm always looking for a Christian who owns a distillery. And Shay reached out to me and said, "Hey, my buddy Jeff started his own distillery," and so that's how I literally got in touch with you. So I don't know you very well, so I'd love to actually just start off. Tell me a little bit of your life story, how you became a Christian. Did you grow up in the church? Would love to kind of hear your life story.
Well, I think I have a very typical life story. I grew up in a middle-class home in Oklahoma City. My parents were successful. My dad was the first college graduate in his family. We're big Oklahoma State fans. When I was a toddler, both of my parents were in school at Oklahoma State. So I learned to walk in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And so obviously I'm still a big Cowboys fan. I went to school there. One of our children graduated from Oklahoma State. So we have deep roots in Oklahoma.
But you're living in Texas now.
I married a Texas girl, and she's absolutely amazing. Yeah, my wife is incredible. And but she has on her own become a great Oklahoma State sports fan. So I think she has more orange and black in the closet than I do. So she's a great partner. And
it's Texas's Red River, though.
It is. Yeah, you have to drive north to get there. But but that's where our farm's about an hour north of Stillwater, Oklahoma. We're only 4 miles from Kansas. Obviously, since the land run started on the Kansas border in Oklahoma. Now there were land runs all across the western United States. And, because of movies and other things, Oklahoma became kind of more famous of them, but it occurred all over. And my family, it's actually my mother's side of the family, and her name is Ingle King. So it's the Bar E Ranch, and it's been in the family farm ever since the land run. My great grandfather and my grandfather ran it. My uncle and his boys ran it. My cousin still runs the ranch today, Cole Ingle King. So a lot of what we want to do is all based in family tradition. And not only do we want to give back to the family, we want to give back to our state and to this small community of Newkirk, Oklahoma. On a more personal side, I'm married to my lovely wife, Shannon. We have a blended family, but we have 5 kids, and God's blessed each one of them in their own skill sets and their ways. And having those fortunes and that lovingness has really helped us grow, not only as a family, but it's helped me grow as a business person.
Yeah. And so tell me a little more about the land run. This happened in like 1893 is when the land run happened. Is that correct?
It did. There were several land runs across the United States. It was actually a legislation that was enacted by Congress. There was all this empty land in the western United States, and they wanted to encourage people to settle west of the Mississippi River. So they opened up 160-acre plots, and to claim a plot, you literally had to go plant your flag on a piece of ground and sit there until the government surveyor came and he would move you around a little bit because everybody got 160 acres. But so it was an organized plan for western expansion and to get people becoming more profitable and progressive in what was known as the breadbasket of the world. Throughout the Midwest United States, it grows fabulous grains and abundance of grain. So all of that came into play when Congress was deciding to help people move west.
Okay. And so your great-grandpa?
My great-grandfather, Henry Ingle King. That's correct.
Yeah. So he came west and planted his flag and got 160 acres.
We got 160 acres. Yeah. Came all the way from Indiana. His family lived in Indiana. They were farmers and ranchers and cattlemen in Indiana as well. But my great-grandfather, Henry, and his cousin, Herman, decided to come west to get their own land, make their own living, their own space for their families.
Yeah. It's amazing because it really isn't that long ago. I mean, it's a little over 100 years ago.
Yeah, 130 years ago. Yeah, not long.
Not long at all. And then did you and so why did he choose kind of the Oklahoma area?
I think that's the land run that was starting at the right time for him. And I think it was easier to get to from Indiana than maybe the land runs that were in Montana or further west. And there was still, by that time, there were railroads that went to Kansas City and into Kansas. There's actually, at that time, even there was a railroad that went as far as south as Guthrie, Oklahoma, from Kansas. So I think just a lot of practical reasons.
Mm-hmm. Now, does your family still own the 160 acres, or is it bigger than that, or is it smaller than that now?
When my grandfather was running at Carl Engel King, the land had about 2,800 acres, and through time and family changes and all, it's down to about 720 acres. But yes, the original 160 acres is still owned by the family. The 720 acres is owned by my uncle and his two sons and me, so 4 of us. We all own our individual pieces as well. But the distillery sits on a hill on the north side of a dirt road, and the original Land Run property, 160, is on the south side of that same road. So we look down on the Land Run property.
Yeah. Okay. And then now you're obviously older. You've been through the business world, and you've had I don't know how many jobs, but you've had a number of, I'm sure, endeavors and stuff. But then in 2021, you start the Land Run Distillery.
I did.
Now, why did you decide to get into the whiskey business?
Well, it's a simpler story than it would seem. There was not big amounts of research when it first started, in that Shannon and I were in Oklahoma for an Oklahoma State football game. It was a night game, and we ran up to the farm. It was a beautiful day outside before a 7:30 kickoff, and we were walking around the farm looking where we might want to build a second home someday. And I have owned my own businesses in the past. I mean, I still do, of course, but it just came to me standing on the top of a little mesa about 70 feet above the road. So it's not a mountain. It's just a small little mesa on the property, looking around. And I could look south to the Land Run property, and it was wheat fields. I could look to the east across from my cousin Cole's house, and there was barley growing. And my friends and I like high quality whiskeys. We like the depth of the flavors, and my brain just clicked in, or God whispered in my ear. I don't know which. I think probably God whispered in my ear. He does a much better job of running my life than I do. I said, well, I could take all of these resources, and we could make great whiskeys, and we can make this family farm viable again.
Yeah. And so 2021, did you know anything about making whiskey? Did you hire or partner with someone?
I did not know anything. Well, I knew a little bit about making whiskey, some of the basics. Yeah. But after it kind of became a decision that this was going to be something we were going to look into the future, I spent the first year going to schools to get my distiller certificate, went to fermentation schools, distillery processing schools, learning the chemistry, learning the techniques, learning the aging, some both sensory and botanical schools. And I found out that I liked it. I liked the chemistry involved. I'm a very analytical guy, process engineer and construction management major at Oklahoma State. So I think in a very linear way. And although whiskey is part luck, part skill, it's also a manufacturing process. You start at one door with raw grain, and you end up with whiskey at the end of the line. And so it fits my personality well. It fits my vision of what we can do for our community and what we can do for our farm in Newkirk, Oklahoma, which is a very small town. And so I just took all those things and put it together. The second year I spent going to trade shows, learning about who sold boilers and steamers and chillers and stills and barrel moving equipment and all the things that go into this manufacturing process, so that when I built my business plan, it was built on actual numbers. It was built on real world manufacturers. It was not a supposition or guesses at what we would need to spend to get this endeavor going.
Yeah. So let's talk about the business model a little bit, and then let's get into the flavors and kind of what it's all about. But I can imagine let's say you open up in 2021. I don't know if that's when you started making it, or if you started making it years before and opened up in 2021. But there's a decent lag between your investment and actual first run of product that you can sell.
Right.
So what's that process like? And if you mind me asking, you don't need to say this, you don't need to give details, give round numbers, but you mind me asking, how much did it take for you to start up your distillery?
We're still starting up. We're just releasing. Our release was November 4th in Texas. We're releasing next work in Oklahoma, because like you said, it takes years to mature whiskey. It takes years to be ready to go to the marketplace. Yeah. And part of that education was meeting with consultants, people that knew the industry, people that had more insight than I would ever have. I can remember when I was in Louisville, Kentucky, at one of the schools, I was meeting with some consultants up there on distilleries. And I had my grand plans. I was the bright-eyed boy with all these big dreams. I said, we're going to build this distillery. We're going to grow our own grain. We're going to let it age. We're going to sell it, and it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
And they looked at me like, dude, you're crazy. You want to wait 5 or 6 years before you have your first dollar of revenue. And they said, there's a whole industry out there. There's a half dozen distilleries that all they do is make whiskey for other people.
Right.
And so they said, no, start right now. Find the distillery that you are compatible with, that you can work with, that will make your mash bills or your recipes for you. Yeah. And that way, when you're ready to go to the market, then you'll have whiskey available. And that's what we did 5 years ago. And we started with a distillery in Virginia, a great group of people to work with. That's their business model. They make whiskey for other distilleries, kind of like a contract kitchen for a caterer.
Yep.
And so we now have 5-year cask strength is our oldest whiskey that we have available, but we're releasing 4-year in all of our other expressions.
Yep.
That was from just getting good advice from good people.
Yeah. Yeah. So contracting. Okay. So the first, all right. So 2021 you've contracted, you're building out your local distillery in Oklahoma. You've contracted another distillery to help kind of fill in those years where you're waiting on your product to mature. Is that correct?
That's correct. And we still have several more years before any of the Oklahoma whiskey will be of age that we can put it into the market. So this is kind of a long-term relationship with the contract distillery. And that's where the consultants were so important, because that lag time from having the idea to getting the education, doing your business plan, construction, and then aging could be 7 or 8 years. And so by listening to them, we cut 3 or 4 years off of what we needed to do to be in the marketplace.
Yeah. So when will your first product come off the line in Oklahoma?
It'll come off the line the end of this year in Oklahoma, and then we'll have to start aging. Now, I'll make one other big point that we listen to our consultants is that one of the things that we heard over and over again was that guys could get together and make good whiskey. Everybody wanted to be in the whiskey business, but the biggest fault that new distilleries had is they were not ready to go to market. So we were encouraged to meet with a branding company and marketing company. We did that, a fantastic company called Brandstorm Creative here in Southlake, Texas. But if you look at our websites, you look at our printed materials, they're all beautiful. And that's because we listened to advice and then got some very good designers, some very professional people to put our image together for us.
Yeah.
It's very different than our original image. Our original image was much more country. It was a much less sophisticated. But we took that advice. So when we go to market, we have marketing materials. We have a beautiful website. We have lots of data in it. Our bottles are very pretty to look at. And that's all from being associated with some great people that God put into our path. And I'm just blessed in that sort of way, in a dozen ways as I was going through this journey.
This is where the interview might go south for you, and the fact that I'm a small limited government kind of guy,
right?
And the government overregulates everything basically, and also we have like all these 1920s kind of 1930s teetotal laws that add complexity to actually being able to ultimately bottom line make money off whiskey. So you have to work with distributors, and you have to there's just layers and layers, and they put middle people in them, and top of middle people and everything. So how do you a couple questions there. One is it sounds like some states, or a lot of states now, allow shipping over state lines, because I could order off your website and it can ship to Idaho. So how are you navigating some of the regulations and I guess some of the advancement of technology and all this?
That's a long explanation there, but as a general rule, most of the agencies have been good to deal with. The TTB, which is the federal agency that regulates the tobacco and alcohol and firearms businesses in the United States.
A benevolent tyrant.
Pardon me?
A benevolent tyrant is what I would call him.
Their people are good. Their headquarters is in Cincinnati, Ohio, and not in Washington, D.C. And so when you have a question, when you have a need, they've been really good about that.
Yeah.
The 3-tier system was created where a distiller has to sell to a wholesaler. The wholesaler sells to a retailer, whether it's a bar, restaurant, or liquor store, that sort of thing. Some states actually have 4-tier where bars and restaurants have to buy from liquor stores. That was founded for good cause back after Prohibition, because they didn't want organized crime to take charge and take hold of the whiskey industry by controlling every aspect of it. So I think that was a realistic thing. Now we deal with wholesalers. As a distilled spirits plant, we can make it, bottle it, package it. It's still in bond when it goes to our distributor, which means the taxes have not been paid on it.
Right.
And then the wholesaler pays the excise taxes. So they have a very real place in this equation to make sure that the federal government gets their money. And the alcohol taxes are the second largest tax base in the United States. So they're very, very serious about getting their money.
Yep.
So the tiers had a purpose. I don't know if they have as much purpose today with all the computers and being able to be connected to the government agencies in a very quick and easy way.
Yeah.
But it takes time. There is a lot of paperwork to deal with. Yeah. But once you get to know it, it's not overly burdensome. And I've been pleasantly surprised on the people I've been dealing with, that how willing they are to help and look out for us.
Yeah. And so you can so what's the legal why does the law allow you to sell internet direct to me?
Okay, well, it really doesn't. Let me answer that real quick.
Yeah.
That's a very complicated business, because every state has different laws. Every state has a different regulations for foreign business practices, or businesses from other states to do business in their states. So we've dealt with a company and they do that for you. Okay. So we have a retailer basically that is set up to sell across state lines. So they've gotten the permits in every state. They have the foreign business operation. So just like a normal, we sell to the wholesaler sells to the retailer that is set up to do this.
Online, to do the online sales.
To do all the online sales.
Yep.
And we've worked with a company named Bottle Nexus, but when you go on our site to order it, you see the little slide bar come over and ask you, tell me bottles you want or whatever.
Yeah.
It slides back off. The secret to that is that's really Bottle Nexus sliding in there and taking the order so that we're all legal, that everything's being handled, and then it slides back out. And I think, again, our branding people at Brands from Creative did a lot of research on who to use, whose programs work the simplest, look the prettiest to our consumers. And so actually we have a third party that deals with that and keeps us legal.
Yeah, interesting. And then, to this point, before we get into the flavors and the breakdown of what you're actually making, what's been, I say, the kind of most difficult part about like starting a distillery?
For me, and this probably is like many businesses, the most difficult part was raising money, and it still is. We're still going through that process. Again, we've been blessed in many ways by the people that have come into the business that both help us and to invest in us. And we still have a ways to go with that. But I was naive is the wrong word, but I didn't have a lot of experience in that. I was a contractor for most of my business career.
Okay. Yeah.
I understood that business. I'm very good with numbers. I'm very good with processes. Raising money is a whole different animal that I thought I would be good at.
Yeah.
And I had to learn a lot.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, it's weird because, like, I guess in some sense, like, especially guys, what guy doesn't want to be a part of ownership of a distillery?
Right. So, and when we started raising money, we were coming out of COVID. Then we had 2 years ago, we had this weird economic year and people weren't investing. I have some good friends that wanted to invest when we initially talked to him. And then when we went back to him, it's like, I can't. My business lost, didn't lose money, but our revenue was down by $600,000 last year. I'm keeping every penny in the bank I can keep in the bank. And so when that happened 2 years ago, it did hurt our fundraising. Just the state of the economy was not in a good shape. People were not willing to invest money because they were scared of the future. That's lightening up some now. And we'll just keep working at it. I mean, you get up every morning and you go to work, and in the middle of the night when God's whispering to you, you try to listen to him and do the best you can.
We live in an age of agitation and opportunity, much like the book of Acts. Through mobs and riots, persecution and martyrdom, the early church grew and flourished in times of chaos and opposition. And what virtues marked the leaders of the early church? Joy, gratitude, and especially boldness. When Peter was hauled before the authorities, he preached the word with boldness. When the apostles were beaten for their testimony, they asked God for more boldness. And when the crowds were shouting for his death, the apostle Paul didn't see a mob, he saw a congregation. And he offered them an open statement of the truth, a declaration of the lordship of Christ, a call for repentance, and the promise of forgiveness of sins and life everlasting. Greyfriars Hall exists to train faithful men to wield God's word with that kind of boldness. No tampering with the word, no tickling the ears, no coddling sin out of fear of man.
I'm struggling.
Just a hot gospel delivered with gravity and gladness and enough spice to keep the church ladies on their toes. We aim to form and shape faithful shepherds who will build holy and resilient communities, united around word and water, bread and wine, animated by a living faith in Jesus Christ, and committed to a glad-hearted obedience in the home, the church, and the world. And we know that boldness before men comes from boldness before God. When we approach the throne of grace with confidence, God promises to pour out his blessing on his people and flood the world with grace and gratitude, with courage and clarity, until the earth is filled with his glory as the water covers the sea. Greyfriars Hall, where Christian boldness is born.
So what, actually, if you can reveal or not talk about any of the details. You just say, no, I'm not going to answer that, whatever.
Right.
Normally, what's like your typical investment? What, kind of, are you looking for 50,000, 100,000, that kind of stuff?
Our typical investment, we're an LLC, so we have investment units rather than shares. Our investment unit is $51,000.
Okay.
We've done some cool things. We had a really good attorney do our operating agreement. But although and that's the Class B units, so they are sheltered from risk. The Class A units, like I own, are not sheltered from risk.
Yep.
But our attorney, where the Class B units own 34% of the business.
Okay.
But when our attorney set it up, they did us with what we call a preferential return. So the Class B unit holders get 70% of the net income until their initial investments paid off.
Yeah.
Part of that is that telling them thank you for believing in it. Part of it is showing us that, Shannon and I are in this for the long term. We're not here to rake a bunch of money off the first few years and leave.
Yeah.
So we've done a good job of protecting our investors. Our attorney did a really good job. Our attorney has done both sides. He's done operating agreements for distilleries. He's reviewed operating agreements for investors. So he had a unique perspective that was very, very helpful.
Yeah.
And so that all of those things have come into play. So our units are reasonable. We will do a partial unit because there's people that don't have 51,000. We'll do a half unit at 25.5, and again 200 units. And so that's what we're working on now.
Yeah. So your Series B 200 units, that kind of thing. What is like the estimate and your projections in ROI for those B units?
We're looking at once we start actually in the marketplace, we're looking at about 2 years before they start seeing any significant return on their money. They should have 100% return in their money in less than 5 years.
Okay.
And then we'll be in the marketplace. So some of our older, our 4-year bottled and bond, our 6 and 8 years will be coming to the market.
Yeah.
We make more money on those.
Yeah.
It creates interest in the product, ongoing interest in the product. And so at that point, their investment percent of return will continue to grow. Also, as you make whiskey, it goes into rickhouses and it gets stored. So the whiskey that's aging in barrels, every year that it turns another year old, it
Yep.
gains in value by literally just sitting on a shelf. So
Right.
all those things are really good for the investors.
Yeah. Well, all right, let's talk about the product you're making, the flavors, let's get to the fun side of this. I wish I had some of it to drink right now and experience it, but
Well, we have plenty here if you want me to pour a drink for you, and I'll drink
you
it.
can go right ahead.
Well, I think the other thing that I think that's helped us, because in the last 10 years, and particularly in the last 5 years, my business outlook has changed dramatically. Again, I have an amazing wife that's very devout and a great partner, but we're making sure that these businesses are God's businesses, that we're stewards of those gods, or God, we're the steward of God's business. She expanded her business, and we're really trying to take a very serious look about how we treat our employees and how we structure the business.
Yeah.
And that's something that I love to talk about. That's very interesting to me. If we talk about the fun part about it, the fun part is sipping whiskeys. And we start with our flagship, or our whiskey is kind of unique to us. The farm has hundreds of native Oklahoma pecan trees. So we have a pecan wood finished bourbon.
Wow.
After the bourbon has aged between 3 and 4 years, then we open the bunghole, which is the 2-inch hole that you fill the barrel from, and we drop pieces that look kind of like kindling wood. They have to be less than 2 inches in diameter, but it's toasted pecan wood that gets dropped into the barrel.
Yeah.
And it just adds a different flavor profile.
Yeah.
So although that has the same kind of caramely vanilla notes as our single batch elite bourbon, it also has a certain nuttiness, and it has kind of a pecan scent on the nose when you're just smelling it.
Yeah.
After that, we go into the palate, which is really has a pretty nice overtone of roasted nuts. It kind of has a creme brulee, has a sweetness about it. Although it's 100 proof, it still drinks very light, very sweet.
Yeah.
And we're very proud of that, because that's one of my creations. And so, it's kind of my baby at that point. It finishes very nice. It's soft on the palate. It has a little bit of pipe tobacco at the end of it, which kind of wakes up the palate again before it finishes. The little bit of fruitiness right before that happens. So we're very proud of the flavor profiles that we've been able to pull out of these whiskeys. The small batch elite bourbon is the same mash bill. It's the same bourbon without the pecan wood, but our small batch elite is, and our small batch elite rye as well. But our small batch elites are a blend of 5 barrels at a time. It's a 5,000 gallon batch that we call a small batch. We pick 5 barrels, we blend it, we bottle it, and then the next time we pick 5 more bottles and start over. So it's truly a small batch.
Wow.
And that bourbon is very good. It is a wonderful mixer. It's also at 100 proof, so that it will stand up in a drink. Our rye, I'm a rye drinker, so the rye is specifically designed for me and my palate. But it is a 65% rye and a 35% malted barley. There's no wheat, there's no corn. So it's spicier, although it has a sweetness to it, but it definitely has those baking spices. It has a bit of a peppery finish to it, just like a rye should have. A little bit of dill pickle, maybe right in the middle of the palate.
Okay.
So we've done, and the final one we're releasing right now is our 5-year cast strength whiskey. Again, the same bourbon, just aged longer, and we're not proofing it. It's coming out. Our current batch is 126.6 in the proof level. But it doesn't drink that hot. It drinks smoother than that. And it gives the consumer the chance to add ice, add a little bit of water, put it in a Manhattan, do something with it where you can still taste the whiskey and get the essence of the bourbon over the top of the mixers, whether it's an old fashioned or a Manhattan or whatever your drink of preference would be.
Yeah.
So we're proud of that. We're proud of what we've done. And on top of that, this fall was the first time we entered a competition. We entered the Las Vegas International Spirits competition.
Yeah.
And our 4-year-old small batch elite rye took a gold medal.
Hey.
We felt like we were in really good company, because the platinum medal was by Whistle Pig, their world rye, 12-year-old. And we snuck in right behind them with a 4-year-old. Our cast strength won a silver medal when we were there, and then our pecan wood finished bourbon won a gold medal. The only
Really?
3 products we sent to the competition, we all medaled in the top of our game. And we got noted with our rye as possibly one of the top 5 in the world. So we're very proud of what.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So
way to go.
thank you very much. Yeah.
That's really cool. So, how many competitions do you guys think you'll do a year now? I mean, obviously you hit the Vegas one.
We'll start. We had a friend that was involved in that helped us get into that competition. As we get into the summer, we won't overplay it, but we'll do several competitions a year and keep showing our profiles and showing the whiskey judges around the world that the quality that we can produce.
Yeah. So I live in Moscow, Idaho, and in Idaho, it's a state-run liquor stores.
Right.
Washington State's next to us, and I think it's private-owned liquor stores now. I think they did away with the state thing, I think. Right. But in Idaho, I think I can go to them and say, hey, you guys should order this whiskey and bring it into the store. Can I do that with you guys?
Yeah, and I think it when we go into those states, it'll become an organized plan. The more people that request it, the more likely it is. And then if we have letters from restaurants and some bars and that sort of thing saying that we would like to serve these whiskeys, then we put together a package for the state board that regulates that. And that goes a long ways to getting approved. If you just walk in and say, I want to be in your state, they have plenty to do. They're not as likely to see you. If we walk in and say, no, you have citizens that are interested in this product, can we come in? It's much easier. So we will include not only our sales manager and our marketing manager, brainstorm creative, but we'll organize campaigns to build that in those states.
I got 2 goals. And so in the political side of what I do in Idaho, I'd love to see in the next 40 years. I'm 45, so I'm probably going to live around till I'm 80, hopefully till I'm 100. I'd hope. See all my grandchildren or my great grandchildren. Who knows? Lord knows.
That's right.
But one thing I'd like to do, besides eliminating property taxes, that's one of my goals, but get rid of all the liquor laws in Idaho. All our liquor laws are built off kind of the 1930s, and our state was heavily Mormon. And so it was like these Mormon 1930s teetotal laws. Right. And they're really silly laws. And get rid of the alcohol state board, all that stuff. So you guys could just like work directly with the stores and the restaurants here in Idaho. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, and I think it's changing. So Oklahoma's very much so. Our distilling industry is new in Oklahoma. I mean, it was primarily moonshine before Prohibition anyway. Yeah. So our laws in Oklahoma are a bit out of touch with the current society, but they're making, I mean, it's like any government. Their changes are slow, but they're working to make changes, and they're not being resistant. Now they get a lot of pressure from big wine, big beer, and that hurts the small distillery in a good way. Yeah. But I think it's going to be changing. There is some point that we like to have some of that regulation in place because we don't want minors drinking. We don't want rampant alcohol abuse. There's some other things that they do.
All that still happens. That's why I don't buy the regulations, because it all still happens, whether the government's regulating it or not. But
that may be true. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what states are you guys in? All the states now?
No, we're just expanding, and we have it in Texas. Our next state will be Oklahoma. We have a hit list of states throughout the Southeast and the West United States, and we'll just keep picking them off one at a time. Yeah. We have an interesting relationship with a group called American Icon Spirits. They hold the license to the Evil Knievel branding and name. Yeah. So we're making a series of.
I saw that.
It's our juice. It's our liquid in it. Yeah. But they're doing the marketing for the Evil Knievel branded products, and that's going to help drag a small new distillery into a lot of states quickly. Okay. So that relationship is a very nice thing to have.
That's cool.
We like working with the marketing group that we deal with American Icon Spirits. And so, just another way where God has put some good things in our lives that we can just keep moving on in a much bigger way than a normal 5-year distillery could get into.
Yeah. Now Jeff, when we talked on the phone, gosh, it was before Christmas when we talked
Right.
on the phone. And one of the reasons why I was just looking for like a Christian distillery or a Christian businessman who opened a distillery is because I think the church for, I don't know, man, the 20th century. I mean, you probably map this out all the way back to the 1800s. Really, God made the world and He made everything in it.
Right.
And it says in Psalm 24, Paul repeats this in the New Testament. It says the earth is the Lord's and all its fullness.
Right.
And the church, one of the things the church and God made dangerous things.
Right.
Alcohol is dangerous. Sex is dangerous. Proverbs talks about the great folly that you could fall into with adultery and going after the wrong kind of women. So it's like sex could be used for great good in the context of covenant marriage.
Right.
And alcohol in the scriptures, God talks about the glory of it. Psalms, Ecclesiastes, 9:7. Solomon says, "Go drink and be merry." So there's obvious commands and obvious exhortation to enjoy alcohol, and then there's also obvious exhortation, and especially back to Proverbs where it's like, don't get drunk,
right?
And so, but I think what's happened is, to me, the church has shied away from the sharp things that God has given us, and as a result, the church has, I think, gotten soft. Its preaching has become weak. I don't think this is directly connected to the alcohol thing, but I think it's related.
Right.
If you're scared of the sharp things of God that He created, if you shy away from the sharp things of God, I think that mentality is going to affect how you preach, how your church stands up against good, against evil.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's a real connection there,
right,
between how we view things like alcohol and how the church inculcates a culture of faithfulness to God's word.
Right.
And so so I'm excited to run into guys like you. I'm excited to see Christians, I think, reclaim sharp things, the sharp things of God. But one of the reasons why the world falls into sin is because the church is not showing and not demonstrating and not being faithful with the sharp things of God and showing the world how to use it,
right,
and how not to use it. And so apply that to particularly to whiskey. I think more Christians should be owning distilleries, wineries, the sharp things of God, and showing the world how to use it versus not, because you're always constantly going to be discipled.
Right.
Discipleship is inevitable. So either you're discipling people how to handle the sharp things of God well, or the world's going to be discipling people how to handle the sharp things of God, and everything. So, would love just kind of some of your thoughts on that as you're a Christian, and even I remember growing up in Texas and the dry counties and the wet counties, and you had just such a goofy setup.
Yeah, blue laws.
I remember.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
The blue laws and
the blue laws, and I remember I grew up in the Presbyterian church, and the Presbyterian church largely is not scared of alcohol. But I was surrounded by Southern Baptists, and they wouldn't. A lot of my Southern Baptist friends wouldn't get a beer at a restaurant because they were scared of, what would other people think about me?
Right.
When I'm like, what a great opportunity for evangelism! What a great opportunity to show the world how to handle the sharp things of God that are blessings,
right?
And to have a conversation from that angle versus like, what is everyone going to think of me kind of thing. No, it's like, no, don't shy away from God's creation. Right. But would love some of your thoughts on that.
Well, I have lots of thoughts on that. And I can tell you about the little town that we're from, that my uncle, who's a very close friend of mine, and my mom was the oldest. The uncle that I hang out with the youngest in their family. So he's only 7.5 years older than I am or so. So when I'm up there, we'll go have a beer together or something. And he's a great friend, but he tells me stories of Newkirk that it was a very dry, teetotaling town, but there was a system where a guy would sell whiskey, and at night he would drive down the alleys, and everybody that took whiskey had their own little hiding place in the alley by their trash can or by a tree, and they would go out and take it in the mornings. And so if we're going to be involved in something, I don't want to be involved in it in a hypocritical way. It should be in the open.
Yeah.
To one of your first questions, as a Christian leader in business, I think that all business leaders need to be Christians. I think that a lot of businesses separate their faith with their business, and that's not what we want to do. There's a place where if we look at how Jesus lived his life, it helps us look at how we should treat our employees. I'm a part of a men's business group, a little small group of 9 business owners. And we talk about, but one of the business owners started something in his company. It was a care fund for his employees. Every employee donates $5 a week out of their paycheck into this fund.
Yeah.
It's a situation where where I have few employees, he has like 100 or more employees, but if one employee's transmission goes out and he can't get to work, well, this employee-led fund can say, no, we're going to give him money to put the $3,000 or $4,000 transmission in his car. The company holds the money, and then they make a deal with that employee, whether it's $10 or $15 or $20 a week. Then they take it out of his paycheck and reimburse the fund. But there's so many ways in business that we can replicate Christ, that we can replicate the goodness in the world. And that's how come I advocate for Christian business leaders. And it doesn't mean you have to be soft. It doesn't mean you have to give away the farm, but it means that you look at things in a little different light, and, being part of a team with your employees rather than a tyrant, looking at the self-improvement and the growth of the employees as their families grow and as you move in conjunction with them. So I think that's where the Christian business leader, if a Christian business leader, male or female, that's a universal he, will apply the Christian beliefs into their business, not only will their business prosper, but their employees will prosper. And a lot of good things come out of that. Mm-hmm. So looking towards that, it's a very intentional choice.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of a double entendre there, but it's intentional when we go into there, and we want our employees to be happy. We want to be an example of Christ in front of our employees, that we don't tolerate the maybe even cussing or gossip and stuff in our workplace, but we want to encourage the love and the teamwork and the profitability and the advancement for all of us. And that's where we get into those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So that's very important to Shannon. I can tell you that when I was a young business person, I didn't have that thought. God was very patient to me and let me grow into that. Yeah. And I'm very appreciative of that. As we relate to alcohol in the Bible, I think it's like most things that are sharp. We can drive too fast. I knew when we were young, grew up in Oklahoma, big open roads. We drove too fast, but that's very dangerous. I mean, friends and family got killed all the time. But that's another thing that we can control. I think for me, that whiskey is a pleasure. It's meant to be enjoyed. That's how come we're trying to create a craft whiskey with these big flavors, so that you're not as likely to just mix it with Coca-Colas or juices and get drunk on it, that you can sit back and savor these flavors, just like people do with good wines, people can do with good cigars, so many other things that need to be taken into moderation. We know that there's rampant problems with sexuality in our country, that we really is meant to be in our homes and enjoyed in our homes and blessed in our homes.
That's right.
But like any of these things, like you said, that the sharper things that God put into this world, it's our job not only to be careful with those things, enjoy them in the proper ways, and then to teach our children the same values.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess last question here, and then we got to wrap up. But part of my question also maybe is coming from a little bit like I grew up in Texas, and like the Southern culture of alcohol.
Right.
I mean, it was very taboo in the church.
Right.
And so now I'm sure you grew up in Oklahoma. It sounds like, and then now you live in Texas and everything. So I'm sure your view of alcohol has changed over time. I guess I'm just guessing. And then now you own a distillery. What have we kind of gotten past some of this kind of, I guess, legalistic view of alcohol in the church, or you still kind of run into some of that?
Oh, I don't think so. I think there's always going to be some churches that are judgmental, that are still working on just a puritanical look at the world, where my view, and
which is hilarious because the Puritans were known for drinking.
That's
they were
right.
known for parties. So we've got to flip that upside down a little bit.
I know, and it's funny that that's the term that we use today. And but I think it's part of us getting out in our ministries, getting out our mission, and that we're helping to show people how Jesus walked on the earth. We need to profess the word and be in a very positive manner. We need to, if we are someone that makes alcohol, or we're someone that makes something else that's very dangerous, that we use our platforms to teach people how to use it right and how to enjoy it properly. The alcohol, wine is throughout the Bible. Wine was first made naturally. It was yeast in the air that changed grape juice into wine. So it had to be a part of God's plan. The Bible also, warns against drunkenness. So again, the Bible itself is saying, here's something to be enjoyed in the right way and not abused. But look throughout the Bible, there's hundreds of things that we get the same lesson from.
Yeah. Land Run Distillery. You guys can go to their website like I did, except for the snowstorm slowed down my shipping. But you go Land Run Distillery, and I have a bottle coming with your pecan, a touch of pecan in it.
Right.
And so really looking forward to it. Love me. It's not the rye. Now you talked me into wanting to buy the rye because I like Whistle Pig rye and everything. So Jeff, Casey, thank you so much for coming on Crosspolitic One-on-One, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. So nice to meet you. Thank you.
All right. Hey guys, make sure you share the show. Make sure you like it, share it, and all that stuff. And we'd love to see you at Business Makers Network. Businessmakers.network is the website. Businessmakers.network. We'd love to see you at our business conference in Dallas, Texas, April 7th, 8th, and 9th. And hope you guys enjoy this interview with Jeff. Go to Land Run Distillery, grab a bottle, and enjoy it. And thank you for joining Crosspolitic One-on-One. We'll see you guys next week.